Hi friends! Do you suffer from poor body image? Do you sometimes feel like you loathe your body? If so, the feelings of shame can be terribly painful and intense. In this video, I'm going to offer 2 valuable things you can do to keep from falling into these spirals of loathing. These 2 tips are, for the most part, preventative. They're designed to keep you from falling down the shame spiral of body loathing. Shortly, I'll offer a video with tips for how to get back up when you've already fallen down the shame spiral. I'm Jenny Bilski-Smith, your food and body image coach. I'm a psychotherapist with a master's degree in social work and an undergraduate degree in nutrition, exercise, and psychology. I share tips and tricks to help you heal your relationship with food and your body from a physical, emotional, and even spiritual lens, so you find joy and satisfaction in food, your body, and your life. So let's get started with healing. If you struggle with negative body image, it's important to notice that the intense sensations of anxiety or deep sadness about your body come in waves. While you may always know you're not a fan of the way your body looks, the intense bouts of anxiety come and go. They may even come and go a lot, but there are windows where that distress is not as high. That could be because you're distracted, your mind is busy doing other things, or for some other reason, your dislike for your body isn't front and center. It's an unrealistic leap for me to say you need to love your body all the time. But can we increase the moments where you're not so activated by the loathing? Can we reduce the frequency of that painful, panicked feeling? The answer is that you can. There is a path. You can reduce those moments of despair about your body by starting to shift your focus from the way your body looks to the way your body feels. Here's why. The way your body looks in the mirror and the number on the scale are all external factors you may be using to appraise yourself. Those numbers and reflections hold a lot of meaning, right? For many of you, if you don't like the number on the scale, it can make you feel like you don't have as much worth as a person. It can really dig at your feelings about yourself. And sometimes your mind might even tell you that the number on the scale makes you unlovable. All the same is true for the reflection in the mirror. That's a lot of really important stuff wrapped around that number and that 2-dimensional reflection in the mirror. Yet the truth is, the number in the scale and the 2-dimensional reflection in the mirror don't tell you anything about your worth as a human. They tell you nothing about your capacity for love, for healing, and for growth. And honestly, they tell you nothing about your physical and mental health. Regardless of the size of your body, there are far better indicators of physical health than the number on the scale. Not only do those numbers and 2-dimensional reflections create a lot of psychic distress, they also keep your attention focused outwardly. And when your attention is focused out there, it's really hard to hear what's going on inside of you. Yet it's the internal messages that, when heard, have the power to drive behaviors that actually do impact your physical and mental health. When you're tuned into internal stuff, you can sense how your unique body feels when it eats certain foods or moves in certain ways. You can hear when a boundary was violated or when you need to rest. So having more clarity about your inner world gives you information you can use to shift behaviors. You can choose the things that make you feel good. So here are your 2 tips for shifting your focus from external to internal. Number 1, if you're brave enough, you might consider stopping weighing yourself. Instead of depending on the number to tell you how to feel or how to eat, you might consider simply pausing and asking yourself, how do I feel? Check in. What do you notice? Then choose behaviors in response to the way you feel. The first couple times you do this, it might feel confusing, but after doing it for a while, your body will start to give you some really helpful answers. If you can't give up weighing yourself yet, that's okay too. I might invite you to simply notice how you feel before you get on the scale. Notice how you feel after you get off the scale. And finally, notice how that number impacts your eating and relationship with food for that day. If the number on the scale is higher than you had hoped, do you choose not to eat, even when your body is telling you it's hungry? If you've watched my previous videos, you know that restricting food is actually one of the best predictors of out-of-control eating or binge eating episodes. In contrast, if the number on the scale is lower, and that comes as good news to you, do you eat more of the fun foods or forbidden foods than your body really wants just because you can? You might ask yourself, does the act of weighing yourself create more anxiety and more distress? Sometimes people will say that knowing the number on the scale gives them a sense of security. Still, I invite you to go deeper. You might wonder what that security is based on. Is it real security? These are questions you might consider journaling about. All right, on to the next tip. Number 2, stop body checking. I get it, there are mirrors and reflective surfaces everywhere. Most gyms surround you with mirrors. Fitness classes are done in front of a mirror. Reflective surfaces are not just mirrors. Sometimes they're windows, doors, and so on. So I get it. It's hard not to check. But here's the thing. The mirror is not an accurate reflection of who you are either. For example, do you know how joyful you look when you throw your head back and laugh? What about when you're totally moved by your favorite song? The mirror can't capture that. Do you know how powerful you look when you're focused on something that's really meaningful to you? Do you know how lovely your energy is when you're loving a person or an animal? The mirror can't show any of that. You might say, well, Jenny, what about when I like the way I look in the mirror? Sure, on those days it might feel good to look in the mirror, but even then, your feeling good is based on the way that you look. Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with liking the way that you look. But sometimes when we focus on that so much, it keeps us from focusing on how we feel, the internal stuff. So I recommend using the mirror to get ready in the morning, and then you might consider trying to reduce or at least notice when you get pulled into evaluating yourself based on your reflection. Look, this can take some discipline at first and some awareness. Remember, the idea though is to reduce the number of times that painful panic gets activated. Reducing the body checking can stop that tape from playing out. I will tell you, this was one of the most powerful tools for me when I was healing my relationship with my body. I remember going on a camping trip where there were no mirrors. I remember thinking how freeing it felt to not constantly bombard myself with my reflection and the ups and downs of emotion that came with that. Listen, I get it. I hear too that maybe you don't like your body. Maybe it seems like if you can remind yourself how much you don't like your body by weighing and watching in the mirror, that it might drive a shift in your weight or your appearance. The reality, my friend, is that shame can drive behaviors, but it's one of the least effective tools for creating long-term and meaningful change. Not to mention, shame sucks to feel. It's far more effective to drive a change in behaviors with self-compassion and a connection with meaning and alignment with your values. So those are your 2 tips to play with. They may seem quite simple, but changing these behaviors can have a big impact on your psychological and physical well-being. Listen, changing your relationship with food can be quite nuanced. If you think you may be a binge eater, emotional eater, out of control eater, a restrictor, or if you simply feel obsessed with food, it's helpful to get the help of a therapist that specializes in food and body image issues. So, my friends, between now and next time, may you find a little more peace in your relationship with food and your body. Shame sucks to feel.